Maybe you're thinking about launching an in person event this year or in the upcoming years in your business because you notice there is a need and a desire for in person events. Or maybe you're just curious how people sell retreats and in person events. So if that's you, this podcast episode is for you to learn exactly how I sold out two luxury branding retreats that were completely different from anything that I've seen out in the market, which felt a little bit crazy at a high ticket price point, and as my first two ever branding retreats that I've launched, and I've sold out both of them. So I'm super grateful for that. And I want to share with you all the learnings I've had, how I sold them out, the behind the scenes of organizing them. Everything will be exposed in this video today. So I actually put up a story on Instagram, and I asked you to send me your questions. What were you curious about? What did you want to know about? And I received a bunch of questions. So I'm actually going to go through the questions, kind of just like on the spot riff and tell you exactly what happened, what I would do differently so that you don't make the same mistakes, but also what did I do that worked so that you know how to sell out your next in-person event, which I know a lot of you are tuning into and wanting to do in your brands and businesses. And honestly, that's the direction we're all going. We're all craving that. We want more connection. We want more in person, and people are willing to pay more for that experience. So let's get into the questions, and we will start with, how did you make the decision on what to have in the retreat versus what to keep out? I believe this person is asking me, how did I make the decision on what kind of activities to include, what is included and what is not included in terms of the retreat experience. And for that, I actually started with the vision for the retreat. So what did I want people to experience at this retreat? So for example, I actually don't really start with the wellness part of it. Like, for example, every retreat feels, or retreat host feels like they need to include yoga. This is your permission slip to not need to include things that you've been seeing in every single retreat. People are not signing up for that anymore. They're signing up for the bigger vision of what this can do for them. So for me, that was about the rebirth. So when you start with a theme or a vision, you're able to curate the whole activity or of the retreat each day around how people can come to that ultimate vision. So it was rebirth for those first two retreats that I've hosted. I hosted one in Mexico, and I'm hosting the second one in June in Greece. So for those two, the theme was rebirth and evolution. You've changed, but your brand hasn't changed with you, and therefore you feel a disconnect. So I was thinking about how can I make each day build on that. So for example, the first day, we wanted to start with a rebirthing ceremony, breath work, and sound healing, because I personally have found a lot of alignment when I've done this practice. So for me, that was a definite yes. I knew I wanted this, and I put it on the first day because it made sense for us to realign on who we want to be first in order to create the rest of the transformation. So it was built upon that. And then as we progressed in the retreat, we did the photo shoots, which were the rebranding photo shoots. So that allowed me to think, like, what is necessary and what's not. I didn't think it was necessary to do wellness every day or have excursions every day. Versus like, also, I want to tell you something here. Like, you will make a plan, and then once you're at the retreat, you're going to be tuning into how people feel. For example, we did have some days where we had yoga, and then we tuned into how people felt. They were tired, they didn't want to get to yoga, and we just decided not to have it. So that is okay as well. I also, for the last day of the retreat, I kind of intuitively felt that everyone needed another mastermind, and the topic for the mastermind came to me while at the retreat. So just so you know that you are an intuitive being. You are going to be tuning into what people are giving you as feedback and their energy while you're at the retreat. So you will be changing things out. I decided to keep things out, and the decision and the thought process behind what I kept out from this retreat was Is it going to lead them to the ultimate transformation? Does it fit the vision? And does it work out for me financially? Because that's something you have to think about when you're hosting in-person events, whether it's a 1-day workshop, 3-day conference, or a 7-day retreat. You have to think about the financial aspect of it. So if it adds value, not just become an expense, then it was a yes for me. And if it didn't, and it doesn't work within the overall budget, which by the way, I didn't really have a budget for this. I was just like, I want to make the best retreat out there. And then little did I know later that maybe I should have budgeted better for this. So that's something you need to keep in mind. Think about your budget, think about your overall vision, and allow room for changes while you are taking this feedback from your clients in person. The second question is, what are the parts of your retreat that separate your retreats from others? So like I already alluded to, these were retreats that I haven't seen on the market yet. I do personal branding. So I wanted people to be able to have the space to rebirth who they are, not just their brands. So what separated my retreats from other was the done for you aspect before the retreat, and the very fact that this was focused on the human, the person behind the brand, and not just the branding. So what we did was, before the retreat even started, I met with every single person who signed up, my clients, and I did a brand strategy session with them. Then from there, I did the visual branding for them that included colors that suit them and a vision board that works for who they are to rebrand them. But not only that, they also met with our stylist, and from there they got their whole wardrobe rebranded to align with this new vision of who they are, what they wanted to birth into this world as their personal brand. And then I created a creative direction guide for them that included everything from how they're going to style their Instagram feed, how they're going to style and do their IG stories to tell these stories about themselves, and also how are they going to be using everything that we've done for them? How are they going to be posing at the photo shoot at the retreat? So most retreats also offer you photo shoots, but then you end up being like, I don't want to use these photos. They don't align with my brand at all. But here, what we did was we created a creative direction guide. So when they come to the retreat, they knew exactly what to pack, what to bring, what are the props. And I will have to say that this was also a challenge for me, which I talked about in the previous episode on my podcast, Seen, Known, Paid, episode 42. I talked about the challenges that I've faced at the retreat. So I recommend also listening to that episode or watching it because it's going to give you insight on what I faced a little bit at this retreat and the transformations people had. So that is our unique point of why these retreats stood out. The third question is, they're saying off all the details, ? How long it took to plan and arrange all this. Give me all the deets. So here's the thing. I've actually had a retreat launch flop. And that was the one before I did my last retreats were called Birth Your Brand Baby Retreat. But the one before that, it was called Rest, Play, Connect. Very lame, to be honest. Like, looking back at that launch did not go well. Why? Because your girl thought that she could put out a retreat and sell it out within 2 months. Crazy. And I see this all the time. It's funny, like, how we think it's logical and we know what we need to do, but then we kind of do the opposite. But anyways, that did not go so well, my friends. So I had to cancel that retreat and refund. I had like a couple of people who said yes, and then I had someone on the fence, and I was like, girl, no, we're not doing this retreat. Refunded the other 2 people. Luckily, only one of them had bought her flight. I felt really embarrassed about this. But honestly, this taught me how to better launch and plan and sell out 2 retreats at once. People tell you to like launch one and then the next and see how that one does. I was like, go big or go home. I'm going all out. If I'm launching this, if I'm already doing the promo for 1 retreat, might as well do 2. And this really worked out for me. So you need to test this and test your capacity. For me, that felt great because capacity wise, I was like, I don't want to run 2 launches, And I also thought about, because with the first one that I put out and then it flopped, or let's say not flopped, I learned from this experience, right? I actually saw that a lot of people didn't say yes because of the timing. They're like, well, I need more time to make these plans, or April doesn't work for me. I was hosting in April. And I thought, what if I had 2 locations with 2 different dates that are far away in advance, and people get to say yes to one of them? That actually increased my chances of closing more clients. So that is a really good pro tip for you here. Sometimes when having 2 or 3 options, people are able to see, maybe this one works for me, maybe this location I prefer, maybe this date. And then they're able to say yes with more confidence. But when you're giving them just one option, it's very hard to do that. We also see people do that in online workshops, right? They have to give 2 dates for people to attend live because most people want to attend live. So think about that. And if you want a plain answer on like how long you should have as a runway for your retreats, I would say at least 9 months. This I felt was the sweet spot. You're able to have time to research it, pre-launch it, which I'll talk about in a little bit when I'm answering, how I sold out these retreats. Pre-launching and giving yourself time in between to deliver assets. If you're doing something where you're delivering assets, most people don't, because that is a unique part about my retreats, which you're invited to next year, by the way. And basically that gives you time for your nervous system not to be overworked, not to feel rushed, and then you're selling from a place of expansion rather than a place of scarcity, which is the problem that I see with a lot of people selling and sharing their in-person events. They get into the scarcity mode. They're like, oh my God, how am I going to fill this thing out? It's already done. I already have the villa. I already have everything planned. I've already paid a lot for this. You don't want that. Give yourself the timeline, the runway. Okay, question number 4. What were the objections first and how did you turn them around? Love this question. So, of course, the biggest objection that you'll have with a luxury retreat, a high ticket offer, and especially an in-person offer are these. So first, the price. And second is location and date. Okay. And this is something you don't always can do anything about in terms of like location and date. For example, I had a lot of people wanting to come to the Greece retreat, but not as many people wanting to go to the Mexico retreat. And I guess because Greece is on everyone's bucket list. By the way, that is also a big learning I've had. Choose your locations wisely. The location is what probably will sell this out for you more than anything else. So the objection for me was obviously the price, which how I turned that around is offering people long payment plans. Don't resist. I love recurring revenue, okay? I love getting money in my bank account deposited every month, so I did not mind that. But you need to also be mindful of what you put down, cash, what you put down to invest in this retreat to begin with, because obviously I had to put down money for the villa before I had everyone sign up. But I recommend you have a few people sign up before you put that money down anyways, to validate your idea, to make sure you have that cash, even if it's just a $500 deposit. But yeah, people will be like, it's expensive. And listen, I've had this at all price points. People will say it's expensive, whether it's $500 or $10,000. So you will always have people saying this, and it's not for everyone. But I did reassure people that they're able to make these payments over a long period of time. I found that works for a lot of people. They're just like, I need more time to pay this off. The other thing was really showing them the value. They're like, oh, like, why do I want to pay like 5.5K for a retreat? And I'm like, no, it's not just a retreat. It is also a branding experience. I was the value add here, my expertise. So remember to sell yourself as well within these experiences. Okay, the next question is, what was your marketing strategy for selling the retreat? So first of all, to reiterate, I had 2 retreats, 2 dates and 2 different locations, Mexico and Greece. And I decided to first go and pitch this. I hate the word pitch, but it was almost like a pitch. let's call it an invitation rather. It's an invitation. I invited, which I call these invites. I invited first my one-on-one clients and the clients who in the past have expressed that they would love to travel with me because I've been traveling for a really long time and people know this about my brand. So I invited those clients first. And then I went and put that out on Instagram. So a lot of people don't make the invitations and get the yeses first. For me, I wanted to get that validated. I got a few yeses from my clients. And the strategy was that I give them a no-brainer rate. I gave them $1,000 off the investment. I sent them the invite. I told them I don't have all the details, but I would love for you to be there because of X, Y, and Z. I made it about their brand, gave them $1,000 off. That got people to say yes. And then I was sharing with them as like my first yeses the process of what I was doing, and they really like this. But I was also doing that on Instagram later, which, by the way, is a really great strategy to create more hype around your brand, around your retreat before you even have all the details, is get people in on the behind the scenes of you planning it. A lot of people want to like come out so perfect, and they just wait till the last moment where they have the villa, they have everything like, perfect and to the T. No, you don't want to do that. You want to share with people the process so they're also part of it, so that they can also see themselves at this retreat. And they get insight into how you do things in your business, which creates transparency and authority. So the other thing I did was I used affiliates. I collaborated with women that I knew have an audience that wanted to come to this retreat. And I said, hey, if you feel connected to this retreat message, this is what it's about. You could share this with your audience. And this worked for me for the first retreat that flopped, actually. I had a cold conversion happen, meaning she found me through my friend who shared about me, who has like a beautiful Instagram page. She talks about travel, so I thought like maybe that would be great, like someone who's interested in branding and travel and they want a retreat. And as soon as she posted about my retreat, I got someone immediately saying yes to the retreat. And this person paid me a deposit like within that week that she found me. So I was offering a really good commission to people who I thought have an aligned audience. And it just worked out perfectly that for the Mexico retreat, I also had Natasha of Shine with Natasha come to this retreat and do the retreat coverage. But also, I thought her audience would be perfect for the retreat. So having her there was a great value add. So you want to think about who is a value add at your retreats and invite those people too. That is important. Most people miss that. It's like almost like PR for your retreats, especially when you're launching your first few ones, or if you're launching something bigger. You want people who have authority. You want people who have influence there. Because then if she's coming, then I want to come. So those are the people that you either want to offer an exchange with, or offer, your services to, offer money to, offer an affiliate program for. Just do whatever you want to do to get them in the room, because they're going to help expand the whole retreat and get you more aligned people who are interested in it. Also, the kind of people that you have in the room are going to keep being your brand ambassadors and helping you sell the next ones with more ease. That's what happened for me, because the women in the room were successful, powerful women. They were all aligned. So the retreat was beautiful. Like seriously, couldn't be more perfect. Like who said yes to this retreat and why they needed to be there at that time. And not only that, when they shared about their retreat experience, I ended up getting more people who are aligned within the same value system saying they want to come to my next retreats. So this was the marketing strategy. So the affiliate, the commission, getting the right people in the room, and also pre-launching and pre-selling. You want to put it out there, get people to give you deposits first. And of course, you're going to have people who want more details, and it's fine. You're going to sell to those people later. And that's why I said, give yourself at least 9 months. So what happened was, In the first few months, I was just getting the yeses from my one-on-one clients, from my previous clients, from my collaborators, from the people I invited. And then I used the rest of my runway for this launch to talk about this retreat every single day. And I'm going to share with you what kind of things I did, but it felt easy for me because I had time. You need time, especially when you're selling high ticket and in-person events where people have to fly out to be there. Okay, so consider that. Anything else I want to add to selling the retreats? Don't give up. I feel like people get into this mindset, which we'll talk. I know someone asked me about the mindset. They get into the mindset of like, well, no one signed up, no one wants this, but you have to really be radically honest with yourself and think about what have you been doing more than just share beautiful images of this place and tell people about the date. Have you been telling them more about the transformation who are they going to be when they leave this retreat, but also who are they going to be at the retreat? What are they going to experience at the retreat? I see this a lot with my friends in this business or my own clients. They just put out the date. They put out that they have a retreat and they're like, well, Marina, no one signed up. I still have 2 spots. I still have 3 spots. Well, girl, you need to be talking about what is happening at the retreat and selling yourself within this retreat. Why you? Why your leadership? And why this space? And why now? If people don't tune into that, no one is going to want to be at this retreat. They can just travel to this location, unless this is just about travel. But most of you listening to this, you share something that's more valuable than just being at a beautiful location. You offer them community. You offer them transformation, whether it's mindset, branding, business, content, even just like an elevation of self. Like, what is it? Tune into that, and trust me, that will melt away a lot of the objections. That will melt away a lot of the, oh, I can't make it, I can't afford it, whatever. They can. So I got another question about how did you approach objections? I feel like I've answered that already. I also want to say that with approaching objections, you want to do that within your marketing content already. Like, before they even think about, can I afford this? Like, offer the payment plan. Like, just say that there are payment plans. We got you. All you need to do is just put the deposit down. Then we'll figure out something that works for you, for example. Or, oh, I can't travel. Well, I have another date for you. Even this one was great. And this could be one of the marketing strategies for selling in general. When you have a retreat, is there an offer that they could do virtually if they cannot come to the retreat? So some people were like, I cannot travel at all this year. Are you doing them next year? I was like, yes, probably I'm doing them next year, but I don't have dates for you. And I said that I actually offer also the same or a similar service virtually. Would you be interested in that? So that could be a way to still get people into your world. The other thing I did was I also hosted a free event before these retreats. The free event wasn't about the retreats, but at the end of this free event, I was like, listen, everyone, I'm happy you're here. I'm happy we're doing this workshop, and I want to share with you and invite you. And at that time, I hadn't launched my retreat fully on my social media. So it was a special behind the scenes invite to only the people who came to my event. So at this event, I shared with people everything from vision to what these retreats are going to be and offer them a special price. So that also worked in getting more people comfortable with what this retreat is about and just hearing the vision from me directly while they're in a space that they said yes to. However, I have to admit that because this was a free event and not everyone in my audience was qualified to be at the retreat, obviously not everyone in your audience is ready to pay high ticket, right? Or ready to be in the in-person event. For me, these in-person retreats are more for people who are scaling and growing their brand, not for someone who's starting out. And the investment for them reflects that. So basically, not a lot of people converted from that, but that did was create a lot of interest around the retreat, and the few people who were there who really enjoyed the workshop were asking me questions about the retreat. And that's what I wanted. And it also gave me the confidence to try this out. So just keep in mind that if your free event is also not super connected to the retreats or the in-person event, it might not convert as you imagined it, and don't be disappointed if that happens. But I would say the most effective way to sell this is to go directly to the people first, get your first yeses, and then do a long launch, at least 6 months of launching. Okay. Another question is selling retreats in uncertain financial times. When are we not in uncertain financial times? I know more now than ever, but I feel like we've been in uncertain financial times for a really long time. Yet I have clients who are making millions and bringing in the money into their business. That's not to say that people are not struggling, but you want to understand, who are you directing your marketing and selling to? It's not for the masses. It's not for everyone. I know this is high ticket. And I know since we're in uncertain financial times, people are not really thinking about traveling and spending money on traveling. I mean, I'm always spending money on traveling. And I'm like, if I am that crazy, then there are other people who are like me. But not even that, let alone uncertain financial times. When people see the value of what you're doing and they see this as an investment, not an expense, they would say yes. So shift your mindset from this is an expense to this is an investment. And then they can actually also do this as a tax write-off. So it becomes a taxable business expense. But I'm not qualified to talk about this, so I'm going to shut up. Okay, where did the idea stem from? How did you know you were ready? Oof. Okay, I have a podcast episode on this. It might be episode 38 on fear. I believe it's titled something like How I Make Big Moves Even When I'm Scared Shitless, something like that, or Scared AF. I'm going to link all of these in the description below so that you can tap into these episodes as well and listen to them, because I think they're going to give you a better idea, especially if you're thinking about hosting your own retreats and in-person events. And you're thinking about, where do I start? How do I do this? You are never going to be ready. You are never going to be ready to put out this big idea that you have for your brand and business. And no one's going to come and snatch you out of your chair and tell you, you are ready to do this now. You got it. That's why I tell you that if you befriend these fears and listen to them, what are they trying to protect you from? What are they trying to save you from? You can use these and alchemize this fear to actually birth and create the thing that you really want to put out into the world. It is simply your next level, and that's why it's freaking scary. And I knew that in my body, in my bones, that this was the next level for my business, and I've just been delaying it for too long. But once I said yes to myself and yes to the ideas, the fear started to melt away. And let's be honest, it was replaced by self-doubt, but, self-doubt is something that's always going to be there, especially the more you know and the more of an expert you are, the more self-doubt there will be. But you cannot give into it because you have a mission. And when you're connected to your bigger vision and purpose of why you do what you do and why this vision needs to be birthed and why people need to be there, you're able to transmute that. So I received the idea through a breathwork session, and I talk about that on the episode, through a breathwork session where I was feeling like, what is next for me? And I didn't know, and it came to me that it was the retreat. And granted, I wanted to do a retreat like 4 or 5 years ago. And I did launch one, and I did sell it to 7 people, but it was with the wrong collaborator. And it was in uncertain times, Corona times. We're not talking about that anymore. But 7 people said yes. It validated my ideas. People wanted to be there, but we couldn't get to Bali. It was in Bali. And then I just never came back to it because I had a lot of fear stored in my body from that time. And then I had to do the breath work, to do this work of saying, I am ready to put this thing out into the world. Whether people say yes to it or not, I need to try this out. And even when it flopped the first time, I said, no, that doesn't mean no to the idea. It just means no to now. Not now, not never. Okay? So I feel like I'm out of breath here. I'm going to take a sip of water before we get into the rest of this. I'm just going to whisper this for you. You are ready. You are so ready. If you've been feeling the call to launch your next big thing, especially if it's a retreat or in-person event, try it out. But give yourself time. Okay? I don't know how many times I'm going to say give yourself time in this episode. Okay. What channels did you use to sell and how to plan and create? I guess they're asking me about the execution. I'm going to combine this with the next question, which is, they say, honestly, how do you organize such a complex project? Oh, I know. And how do you plan your tasks in time, as in what to do and at which points? If you know what I mean, my ADHD brain is so overwhelmed just thinking about doing something like this. I know, trust me, it is a lot, I have to say. And I would say I went into it a little bit naive, where I was like, let me just get people to say yes, and then I'll figure out the rest. That's big visionary energy. Tap into that. First, get people to say yes. Once they say yes, and the idea is validated, go and plan the retreat. I actually created a whole SOP, standard operating procedures, for the retreat after doing the first one. At first, I was just doing whatever, at whatever time, and trust me, I was stressed at the end of it because it was 2 weeks before the retreat and there was a lot that I realized that needed to be done that wasn't done. Again, I'm going to say give yourself time. So with the 9-month plan, so my SOP now looks like a 9-month launching plan. And within that, the first segment of it is the research. So I'm giving myself actual time for research and digging in and finding the villa, collaborating with people, whatever. And then you find your facilitators. The last thing you do is create your day-to-day schedule, which I know people spend so much time on at the beginning. Trust me, you're going to get different downloads and different ideas closer to the retreat. This is the one thing I would say that I like doing the month before the retreat, because I'm tuned into this energy a little bit more. And I know I will keep editing it until the last minute. And that's okay, but I know you have to print it. So you're going to have to give yourself a stop point. I would say I love using Notion. So I would recommend using Notion or whatever project CRM that you have. Like I know there's Trello and all those other ones, Airtable. Write down all the different tasks that you need to do. Okay, write it all down, brain dump. And then next to that, give yourself a timeline. And by that I mean, for example, villa research, month 1 to 2. So the first 1 month to 2 months, I'm just doing villa research. I'm trying to find the best villas and I have options. And then I email people and say, hey, look, I have all these options. What do you think? Get people onto the process. Okay. And then just do all the tasks, give all the tasks a timeline, and then see who could help you with these. Maybe you can outsource some of it if you have an assistant. My assistant was helping me a lot with this. You can bring on collaborators. You can ask the villa if they can help you by finding people for you. Use your network and resources. This will help you a lot, but you need that list of what to do. So start there and then put the timeline and then find the people to help you and then start chipping away at it, because now you know you have time, and give yourself more time than you need. And always have contracts for everything. Something I have learned and I'm learning. Get yourself contracted on everything that you do so all the terms are clear and it's just easy for people to know what to expect from you, whether they're collaborators or your clients. And just know that the overwhelm is a part of this experience because it is expansive. It is getting you to that next level of doing something you have not done before, and that is so normal. Okay, so when you have this overwhelm, just tell yourself one step at a time, one Notion task at a time, and get help. You can't do it all alone, okay? All right, what was the one thing you did daily for sales? Yes, someone had to ask this. You need to sell every single day, whether you're selling a retreat or just selling your offers, okay? You need to sell every single day. You are a business person. And by selling, I don't mean put out your offers and scream about them. No one wants that. That's not sexy, okay? We're not buying because someone is telling us to buy every single day. We are buying when we feel something and when there's trust and when we're reminded. How many people have forgotten that I'm even hosting and launching retreats? So many people. They're like, wait, when is your retreat? What are you doing? Are you doing retreats? Trust me, people are not paying as much attention as you think they are. So that's why you need to remind them daily and show up daily sharing your offer, but not saying like, oh, here's the date and here's the time and here's when it's happening and here's what's offered. That is not how you sell daily. How you sell daily is create content that moves people, activates people to want to take that next step and to be curious about what you're offering, that they slide into your DMs and ask you questions. That's the first point. And also, you need to do the hard sell of reminding people of what you have coming up. So I have a retreat, I have an event, I have a workshop. Sometimes we need reminders. I myself forget when I even inquire about someone's workshop, and then I don't see them post anything else. I'm like, did the workshop happen? Did I miss it? Now I have to go check on their account, and people are busy. Keep reminding people. Okay, so that's the one thing I did was I showed up daily. I shared the behind the scenes of the retreat. I shared who's coming. I shared the process. I shared my challenges. I also shared a lot of content because I've already been in these places. I mean, that was actually a leverage for me that I've already lived in Mexico and Greece, and I only host retreats in places that I love, lived in, and have had an activation and a transformation in myself. Just feel that's more special, and I can bring you an authentic experience that way. So I leverage that in these places. Like imagine yourself at this beach, and then show them what I'm doing. Imagine a day in your life here in Greece or here in Mexico. So that was really a great selling point for me. How did he attract people who were willing to pay at the price point? Okay, this needs a whole podcast episode, and I do actually talk about this in another episode where I share with you how one of my clients, she ended up being able to charge more. Like literally she was charging $50 an hour, but she wanted 17K projects. And I'm like, okay, a lot needs to change if you want to go from charging $50 an hour to 17K for projects, because the kind of client you want to attract who pays $50 is very different than the kind of client who pays $17 to solve their problem. So it wasn't like I'm attracting people specifically for this retreat all of a sudden. I've been building my premium personal brand over the last 5 years. You have to understand that. You cannot come out of the woodworks just saying, hey, I have a $5,000 offer. No one's going to pay for that if your messaging is not backing that up, if your visuals, your presentation, the way you personally show up is inconsistent. So people were willing to pay that. I've literally converted almost 90% of everyone who got on a discovery call, interview call for these retreats on the on the call itself. Okay? And that is because I've already built that trust through my content, that authority through my content, and I've positioned myself as a premium brand. Cool? You need to dig in to watch the other episodes I have to learn more about this. And I also told people that this is a luxury experience. That was another thing. And what was provided in it goes back to the value. The last question is, what value did you provide that they wanted in on this retreat? Why did they choose you? Why did they choose me? Ties into the last point that I made about I've built this brand around focusing on the human first, the human aspect first. And I've created a philosophy, a teaching philosophy around what I do. And people wanted in on something that spoke to a deeper desire that they have. So instead of saying that this is a rebranding experience, well, you can work with any rebranding, strategist or brand strategist and get your rebranding done. I was talking to the deeper desire that they have. They have evolved. So the messaging was, you have evolved, but the brand didn't. And that's why every time you try to show up, it feels like pulling teeth. And people really resonated with this. I created a space for them to do the thing that no one else was creating a space for the human to evolve and to create, to give them the asset and the practical part of it that allows them to rebirth who they are, but what their brand represents and how it looks into this world, to give them the tools to be able to communicate that. And that's why people chose me and chose this retreat. But why did they choose me specifically is because I have built this brand over the last 5 years, like I said, and people have that trust. But to tell you the truth, in my Greece retreat, the majority, if not all, the clients that said yes to that retreat, which by the way is the one that sold out first, those were my previous clients, people who know me, who've been following me for a while. For Mexico, however, the majority, or like half of the room, were people who just found me. And they found me through Natasha and Angie, who were my collaborators, posting about this retreat. And because, like I told you, like using the influence of other people to spread the word about your retreat is important, I got people who needed what I do. And obviously they had to see the invitation and click on it and then come to my page and look at my content. And after doing this, they were able to confidently say yes. And granted, these people have only been in my world for like a week, and they paid me over $5,000 to be at this retreat. I want you to hear this again. These people have found me within a week and paid me $5,000 to be at this retreat. That's the power of first being clear on the value of this offer beyond it being a retreat and an in-person event. Clearly communicating the value of this offer to people in your messaging and your content, and the confidence and conviction you have when you're showing up on these discovery calls. That's what's going to make people choose you and hand over this money with confidence. It's saying, I trust you to lead me on this journey. But we don't create that trust, and then we wonder why people don't pay. That trust is created at every step of the way. When you show up at the discovery call with confidence and conviction, when you talk about your offers on your social media and content, and just the way you carry yourself. Remember, it is the person first that leads this brand. Okay, friends, we talked a lot about how you can fully, with confidence, launch your next retreat by learning from my mistakes and learning from what worked and what didn't work for me. I've answered about 14 questions for you here and really shared with you how you can make your next launch a success. And I want to hear from you if you have any more questions, and what are some of the things that you are going to be trying when you launch your next offer, whether that's an in-person offer or that is a virtual offer even, because these things that I shared today would work for any of your offers, in person or virtually. So I'd love to hear from you in the comments about what you're taking away from this episode, what was like a big aha moment for you, and what you are willing to try. You can tag me at Vivaciously Marina on Instagram. I'd love to hear from you as well. And I would love to invite you to my next retreat. I'm currently in the planning process of my Egypt retreat called Wisdom Within, and this retreat is all about allowing you the space to tap into the voice within that knows, and to be able to translate that into your powerful messaging and voice in your content, so that you're able to convert people with the same conviction that I'm talking about to even share the things you've been scared to share. Maybe there is a part of you that has been hidden for so long, and yes, you've evolved, but maybe that part of you has not gotten the space to be spoken about within your messaging and content, and you're feeling like something is off. And this is finally the space for you, with the backdrop of magical Egypt and my ancestors, because this is my homeland. This is such a special retreat. With that backdrop, being in these temples, learning from my ancestors, looking at hieroglyphics, like experiencing Egypt and the beauty of it and the majesty of everything there. To be able to tap into that within yourself through my guidance and my expertise in personal branding, and the expertise and community that is joining us, these women who are coming in for the same purpose as you. You have no idea how transformative that this work is, and how this can be the turning point for your business finally to say the things you want to say with confidence and conviction, to sell and show up without self-doubting at all, and really like finding the tools to just understand how you can communicate through storytelling, which I will be teaching you through this retreat, and the magical experience, of course. So if that is feeling like a bucket list for you, the application is in the description below. You can apply. We already have sold out 3 spots, which, by the way, if you follow all the things I said in this episode, you'll be able to also sell your next retreats with that much ease. Like, we don't even have everything like sorted yet, or a sales page, but we've converted 3 people, which I am so proud of. But that is the power of, building a personal brand that people connect to, and being able to tell these stories and share your offers with conviction and confidence. So if that's you, I'm calling you in. Apply for my Egypt retreat 2025. It's going to be the end of this year. I'd love to have you there. And until next time, stay vivacious. Bye. Hey, welcome back to Seen, Known, Paid. I'm your host, Marina Gergen.